oui, on va s'en sortir de cette pandémie par la vaccination. Puis on en connaît tous des gens qui sont en train d'hésiter un petit peu. On va continuer d'essayer de les convaincre. Mais il y a aussi des gens qui sont farouchement opposés à la vaccination.
Qui sont extrémistes.
Qui croient pas dans la science, qui sont souvent misogynes, souvent racistes aussi. C'est un petit groupe, mais qui prend de la place. Et là, il faut faire un choix en tant que leader, en tant que pays. Est-ce qu'on tolère ces gens-là ou est-ce qu'on dit, ben voyons, la plupart des gens, presque 80% des Québécois ont fait ce qu'il fallait faire, se sont fait vacciner, on veut revenir aux choses qu'on aime faire. C'est pas ces gens-là qui vont nous bloquer maintenant.
This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth. And the clip that you just saw, folks, was of the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, going on a French-speaking television program saying that the unvaccinated in Canada are anti-science, they're misogynists, and they're racists. And this has actually sparked a hashtag on Twitter, Trudeau must go. And this is now at an unprecedented #1 trend for the last 5 days in a row. So it looks like this hashtag is morphing into something more of a movement, really. And joining me on the line right now to talk about this viral trend is the man who started it all, Marty Up North. He goes by on Twitter. So Marty, thanks so much for joining us here. Now, this is the tweet that you put out that started it all. It says here, I'm a 55-year-old Canadian. I'm married, father to 4, university educated, and perfectly bilingual. I'm an engineer, solving problems for 35 years. I'm a voluntary hockey coach and an avid outdoorsman. According to Trudeau, I'm an extremist who needs to be dealt with. Hashtag Trudeau must go. And remarkably, this has created a ripple effect that is now spreading all across the nation. So maybe
totally beyond anything I ever expected.
Oh, I would imagine this has been a whirlwind of a week for you. So I want to get into, where you see this going in the near future. But before we get into all that, maybe you could start us off right from the beginning, how this all started for you. I mean, what prompted you to want to create this post, which, as I said, has already created a ripple effect all across Canada?
Yeah. So great question. In fact, it almost didn't happen because, I've had a social media presence for a long time, but I'm like you, I'm on YouTube. And if you go look at me on YouTube, I'm a backpacker, been doing this for 10 years. And, coincidentally, I think it was last week on Sunday or whatever, I tweeted that, hey guys, see you later. I'm heading off to the mountains for a 4-day trip. And, my Twitter presence, generally speaking, is, so YouTube for me is hiking, LinkedIn is business, and Twitter is a bit of politics and other things. But on Twitter, I'm mostly known in the last year as an engineer who was providing statistics and his own analysis of COVID. So that's what I'm known as. And then recently I was trying to let this whole COVID thing go and, let's all get back to normal. So I'm supposed to go hiking. I don't go hiking. So I'm at home on Tuesday morning and I'm on Twitter engaging with somebody, and I'm into a sort of a little debate over that video, but not that video in particular, but the topic of Trudeau and what he's been saying. And what happened is, so I'm bilingual. So I go through my archives, I pull up that video, and then I wanted to share it with somebody as part of the engagement. And then I realized it didn't have any titles on it. So I put some captions, I translated it. And then the debate ended. But for whatever reason, I was aware of that video. I've seen it before. I've seen lots of references to it. But on Tuesday morning, I just went, wait a minute, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. Like when I really dissected that video, I'm like, Trudeau is making these broad stereotypes about people, me included, and full disclosure, I'm unvaccinated. I am not vaccinated for COVID, and I have a whole ton of other vaccines, but I'm unvaccinated, and that's my own business. That's any Canadian's own business. And then I'm thinking about the video, and I was like, he's broad stroking us and stereotyping us, calling us, unscientific, misogynistic, racist. And I'm like, wow, I'm an engineer. I have a degree on the wall that says Bachelor of Applied Science. And I made a decision. But then he goes on further, because I could have stopped at that. But then he's like, he asked a question, do we tolerate these people? And in Canada, that's not for debate anymore. I mean, we are a tolerant society. So he's like, do we tolerate these people? I'm like, wow. So now I'm to be tolerated. And then if you listen and you watch the subtle language afterwards, he even says something like, he justifies what he just says by saying that 80% of Quebecers did the right thing. So, just the choice of words. And I know at that moment, as a French Canadian, I know he was being interviewed, and the interviewer played into him a little bit. I mean, she's the one who said, completed one of his sentences for him, says they're often extremists, and so then that got him going. But when you observe human nature in people, you start realizing patterns, and that's Trudeau's pattern. It's just the way he is, and so it just annoyed me, and I posted that little tweet. And if I could have, and fundamentally what I was doing is I was just putting out a tweet out there for him. I mean, because at that time, honestly, my audience on Twitter was 10,000 people. Like, right. Who am I, right? I'm Joe Schmuck. And so, and then I don't know what happened. I was absolutely flabbergasted when I started hearing that it was just trending.
Well, it inspired like-minded Canadians to want to speak up and say, hey, I'm a normal, average, Canadian citizen who's contributing to society, and this resonates with me. People need to know that I'm coming from the same boat, and this is why it's trending. So have you, I'm sure you've been keeping up on some of the responses. Has there been any ones in particular that have been awe-inspiring, or I mean, the Trudeau's brother has chimed in.
Trudeau's brother was one that was inspiring. Listen, they're all inspiring. I mean, I'm literally getting goosebumps thinking about it, and now it's interesting because the ones that are inspiring, they're all inspiring. And at first, the ones I was seeing were, you know how these algorithms work. So the ones I'm seeing are the ones of people that would typically be my followers. So if you follow me on Twitter or any other group, we have something in common. So at first I start seeing the ones of my followers. It's like, yeah, it's fathers, it's engineers, it's outdoor people, and they're sharing a story. But, and then I wanted to see, okay, what are the other, who else is saying this? And you got to go search for them. But then it wasn't hard to start searching. And now all of a sudden you see nurses, you see single moms, you see First Nations people, you see immigrants, you see former liberals. I mean, it was like, oh, wow. This military is like men, doctors. This is going across, it's so beautiful. And yeah, I mean, when I'm thinking about it, it is an upsetting thing about Twitter, and that's the other thing that I've tried to do on Twitter and in all social medias is to try. I know we're in echo chambers. And you got to try and get out of these echo chambers. So that a message like this can reach out was fantastic. It's fantastic.
Well, now there's a lot of people trying to counter this. There's the I stand with Trudeau hashtag is starting to trend, but there's even people out there who are claiming that you, me, maybe others are actually bots, that this whole thing was engineered by some sort of, who knows, a Russian conspiracy. Like they literally think it's bots putting out this information. What do you say to those people who claim that this originated from robots?
Well, the two most ridiculous ones, for me at first was Dean Blundell out east, and Dean's not a nice person, and Gerald Butts. And so naively, I'm not an expert at this, so I just sent out a note to, I just tagged Dean, and I replied to him and said, hey, Dean, I'm Marty, and it appears that I'm the guy who started this, and here's my original tweet, and here's the context, just like I said to you. And Dean just goes like over the top and starts, his original line was, hey, there's this movement, and it's like you described, it's not grassroots, it's bots and everything else. So I engaged with Dean. He grew a bit of an olive branch, but he's still, I think, actually, I'll tell you something funny about, he tried to do his own, he used every method he could at his disposal to maintain his position. So he did his podcast and he did everything else. And he did a podcast with, and he had two co-hosts. And as he was trying to read some of these tweets, you could tell he was being selective. He's going through his timeline and picking out the tweets that look like they come from bots. He's not reading the ones from accounts with 20,000 people. And then his co-hosts are laughing. But then you see one of his co-hosts at the bottom, looking down, kind of scrolling, going, ooh, maybe we're onto something different here, And so anyways, Dean is Dean. And then there's Gerald Butts. I mean, Gerald, that same thing. I reached out to him and he blew me off. And then he went as far as saying, I have no doubt, Marty, that you started it, but it started somewhere earlier and you're influenced anyways. And I don't know who's influencing you. So then to counter him, I just walked in my backyard yesterday on my acreage and I took a quick video. I'm like, look, Gerald, like if I'm a bot or if I'm some conspirator or somebody paid by the Russians, wow, they really had to go out of the way to find me. I mean, you know, and I shared my YouTube channel because, like I said, for it's out there for the whole world to see. I'm a northern Alberta boy. I'm currently living in southern Alberta, but I'm a guy who hikes in the mountains, lives on an acreage. Most of my posts on Twitter are me having a drink around the fire with my buddies. You know, if I'm a conspirator of some sort or paid, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But Gerald is hanging on to that narrative hard. And new to this game, what I understand is he's a cleanup man. He's Trudeau's cleanup man, or he's somebody, and he's just been tasked right now try to clean this up.
And doesn't this viral trend literally prove that it's not a fringe element of society as the media and Trudeau are trying to portray this as? Because I think that the COVID 1984 nightmare that Canadians have woken up to in the last 3 years has done just that. It's woken up a lot of people to the problems that are inherent within the government and how they react to situations and how they deal with problems and their ideas of solutions to our problems. Would you agree that in the post-COVID 1984 world, a great number of people are actually waking up to the tyranny that is the Canadian government, and that's why we're seeing this viral trend take off?
They are waking up. I mean, they started waking up. You know, the convoy in February was one of those events where you know, that was an awakening for a lot. And then this is another awakening. There's more awakenings. I mean, you know, you know, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't want to be, because I'm an engineer and I know that, you know, things are complicated enough in life. I mean, I try and manage little projects and I have a hard time managing projects. So I can't give anybody the benefit of the doubt onto big conspiracies. I think governments are genuinely incompetent, and people, we still trust governments, but now some of this stuff is coming out. I mean, that's actually what we're talking about, is what I'm known for on Twitter. Is like, I've been trying to, I always try to just show data and just have people question why. Like, you know, I'm trying to get people to practice critical skills, critical thinking. You know, if the government says, well, 80% of people got vaccinated, I go, last week, you know, and then I challenge people. I'm like, just do the math in your head. Does it seem reasonable that 183,000 Albertans got vaccinated yesterday, for instance, or something like that? So I spend time helping people do that. And the beauty of government is I know they've been trying to suppress some of the information, but it's coming out. It's been 2 years, 3 years, and some of the information, they suppressed it. But no matter what, there's an army of civil servants just doing their job every day, entering the data, and then it's going to come out. You know, we will find out the causes of deaths of people. We will find out, you know, the sales of coffins. We will find out, you know, stillbirths, alcoholism, whatever. And that's the thing as an engineer, is to find those analogs that reveal something, and we're there. So we're post-COVID, the information's coming out, people are waking up.
Now, some people are thinking that the fact that this has been trending for 5 days in a row, #1 trend in Canada, they're not so sure that it's necessarily organic. And some people have presented the idea to me, and this is the conspiracy brain thinking maybe, that is it possible that the government is allowing this to happen at this point to build a database on the people who are resisting the vaccine, resisting the movement, the freedom people who haven't necessarily been vocal over the last couple of years, like myself or yourself, but who are now starting to come out of the closet, if you were, come out and become vocal? Is it possible they're just building a database on who they consider the enemy is?
Oh, now you're going, well, I mean, you're going into, it's possible. It's absolutely possible. I mean, I can go, let's say, to Facebook today, and certain, like, there's a group, I think it's called like Freedom Convoy 2022, and they're creating photo albums, and they're taking screenshots of everybody who's posting on Twitter and making photo albums, and the photo album's like 300 freaking 1,500 pictures long, kind of thing. So yeah, I guess de facto that's a quick snapshot. We're doing the work for CSIS of, here's 3,500 people you need to worry about. I think the tools are already at the government's disposal to do that. It's like when people talk about social credit or currency or cashless currency and stuff like that. I mean, the government knows everything about us. So, but actually what I'd like to go back though is there is manipulation. There is government manipulation. People have been taking screenshots of the trend. So you'll have the trend on one side saying Trudeau must go, and suddenly it's like 300,000, then it disappears. And if you try to retweet and use a Trudeau must go, the software is forcing you to type in Trudeau must go on. It auto finishes for you as Trudeau must go on. So if you're careless and you do it quickly, it says Trudeau must go on. So it's like, shit. So delete that one and redo it. I got caught on and I'm trying to do it. And I was like, holy smokes, man, you got to delete and try to so it was becoming difficult to go just Trudeau must go. And Trudeau must go was like that same thing. That was me by accident. I mean, I knew that I challenge people. If you look at my hashtags, I seldom use them. And again, for that moment, I felt like using a hashtag and I'm like, which one do I use? And I guess I accidentally created Trudeau must go. And then anyways, yeah. So there's manipulations that go on. I mean, I've made a joke to people that, it's not a joke. It was pointed out, the ArriveCan app has more positive reviews on the iTunes store than Trivago and Instagram combined. Like really 450,000 people have given ArriveCan a positive review. So there's gross manipulations going on like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that seems to scream to the fact that they're actually worried that this ripple effect is going to spread and start affecting people in a way that's going to, be counter to their agenda of control. So, where would you like to see this go in the near future? I mean, it would be, a shame if it just kind of fades away to nothing, but, where do you think this could potentially lead? I mean, could it lead into other countries starting to take on a similar viral trend who are dealing with the COVID-19 84 nightmare, or where would you like to see?
Well, I think the Americans are ripe for the exact same trend. I mean, just 2 weeks ago in his State of the Union address, Biden said things that were absolutely similar. I mean, he was referencing the part of the Republican Party, that the MAGA wearing extreme part of the Republican Party, and then he used terms like they're a minority that is threatening democracy. So he was using the same language, which again, so then from my end, I don't believe in conspiracies, but I do believe in certain organized groups. And so when world leaders across the board start using the same language, then you start wondering, what's going on. Yeah. But sure, I'd love to see it, to your question, I'd love to see it go longer. Mm-hmm. I think the US are right for it. It's trending in a few places around the world. It's interesting. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I'll tell you what I'd like. What I really would like is for some, I've tweeted this. It's like, can a mainstream journalist, anyone, just one mainstream journalist call me? Because, in the video that I replied to Butts, that's why I said, you guys are missing the story. The actual story is not the robots or the Russian conspiracy. Put it aside. We're already past that. So now who cares how it became a grassroots movement or a movement? Now there's a movement. There's 200,000 Canadians that are posting their pictures. So that's a story, but it's a story that is absolutely ignored. So I'm wondering, sure, it's the long weekend, the Queen's funeral tomorrow, God save the King. So will a mainstream journalist call me and make something of the story? And then if that happened, I'd be in heaven. That's all I want.
This is why I wanted to have you on today, to provide the PFT platform for you to be able to tell the real story of what's going on here. And hopefully, maybe we can make this video go viral so it will gain the attention. I mean, if the trend already hasn't, maybe the words coming from the horse's mouth yourself will gain the attention of the MSM. let's try to push for that to happen. And hopefully you will get that call and you will be able to expose, what's actually going on here. Hopefully they won't twist your words, but we have it all here unedited on PFT anyways. So
Perfect.
hopefully we can make that happen. Is there any links you want to shout out for anybody who wants to continue to follow you online? Maybe they're interested in outdoorsmanship and
no, listen, I don't want to be, in fact, I don't even want to be the leader of a movement. I just want to go I want to go in my backyard, chop some firewood, sit by the fire, have a drink tonight. That's all I want to do. But if we, I think one of the really good ways to bust this robot conspiracy thing is if people continue to do it, do a little video. That's what I'm begging people. Like just do a 30, because they're not believing us, our biopics. So do a little video, walk around your backyard and do a little video. You don't even have to follow a script. Just say, Trudeau, I'm tired of your bullshit. Yep. And if we could do that, that would be fantastic.
I love it. That's a really good idea. Get your faces and your voices on camera. Voice your displeasure with this tyrannical government that you've been dealing with for the last 3 years. And if enough of us step out of this pyramidal structure, which is really how it's designed, what happens when the bottom brick of a pyramid is removed? The whole thing comes crashing down. So this is why it's
I want to, Trudeau's in the UK right now, getting ready for the Queen's funeral tomorrow. So I'm sure he's being briefed on this, but he's probably not being briefed too extensively, and he might be blowing it off. I'd love to be a fly on the wall when he comes back on Tuesday morning or Thursday, and somebody in his press office says, "Holy shit, Mr. Trudeau, check this out." So if we could make sure that moment on Tuesday or Wednesday when he comes back to Canada is even more dramatic, if we could keep it going until then, that would be really cool. Just another quick thought. I mean, yeah, and the video is easy, and this is being compared to the truck rally. Nothing compares to the truck rally. Okay, the truck rally was absolutely amazing. I mean, we went to a rally, and I remember walking up to the park where it was being held in Calgary, and I turned to my wife, and she was getting emotional. She was like, just hearing voices, just getting out in public, just seeing people who shared a common frustration. My wife almost got in tears. I'm like, "What's up, honey?" Like, give her a big hug. Yeah. And so the truck rally was amazing. This continues on that, but this is easier, folks. Like, you don't have to get into a truck and drive somewhere. You have to, you just pull out your, here's my phone, just get your phone, hold it to your face like this. Trudeau's famous for selfies. Maybe we do fun of Trudeau. We hold selfies, and then somebody will figure out how to create the hashtag.
Yeah, I've had the same experience with going to these rallies, and I actually went to Ottawa, and so I ended up chiming in on this viral trend myself with this post here. I'm an entrepreneur, a documentary film and maker, an investigative journalist dedicated to pursuing the truth, and I had to drive 5 days across Canada to cover the Freedom Convoy because I'm unvaccinated, but according to Trudeau, I'm an extremist who needs to be dealt with. Hashtag Trudeau must go. And it was a pleasure to take part in this viral trend. And maybe the next step, as you said, is for people to start making those videos, so we can't be accused of being robots pushing this agenda. So once again, I just want to thank you so much for taking that initial step to voice your displeasure with the government. I'm so happy to see it's created a positive ripple effect all across the world. And folks, let's keep this trend going at least until Tuesday. So it's got 7 full days of #1 trending. So when Trudeau gets back to Canada, he can be.
If we get 7 days, and somehow or other, if we get 1 million, that would be wow, fantastic. Yeah. Appreciate this chance to talk with you, Dan. This is fantastic.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I want to encourage everybody to get involved. Check out the links in the description, and you keep up the great work, man. Take care.
Cheers.
We all want truth. The truth will set you free.